The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars cause it's live. And through the fight game, we can guide ya. Slick talking, putting them in caution. Passing all the goals cause the audio is awesome. What you waiting for? Spread the word, tell a friend. This the podcast where all of the discussion ends. When they start going strike for strike, this the show that'll tell you what you seen in the fight. They ain't playing on the mic, this a welcome to the show. Warm it up for the squad, Haymaker of the bros. I'm a bow wow, you can hear it from the pros. It's Haymaker Combat Sports, time to roll.
Welcome back, Haymaker Combat Sports, powered by the Belly Up Sports Media Network. I am your host, EJ Reed, joined by my fellow host, Aaron Admire, Steve Johnson. Fellas, how's it going?
Going good.
Pretty good.
Man, Admire, you had an eventful weekend, didn't you?
Yeah, man. Son got hitched. Tied the knot, So I spent all weekend doing wedding stuff. We had the rehearsal dinner Friday, big wedding on Saturday, Easter on Sunday.
Nice. Where was the wedding at?
It was up in a place called Savannah, Missouri. It's a big old barn. Like the inside of it's real nice. Real old fashioned looking and stuff like that. So it was kind of out in the middle of nowhere. It was cool.
Where was there a lot of people attending and whatnot?
Oh yeah, there's probably about 60 to 100 people. I don't know. I kind of lost count.
Yeah, was their spirits involved at the reception and whatnot?
my son's 21, so all of his friends, are that age. And the girl he married, her family gets pretty wild, so there was a lot of drunk people there. I don't drink, so yeah. I did good. Most people, they would offer me a drink and I'd be like, nah, I don't drink, I'm good, and they'd leave me alone. There were a couple young kids that are like, no, you gotta do the shot, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you had the willpower to turn it down, but I'm sure you witnessed a lot of interesting activity based on people being inebriated.
Oh yeah, they were hammered. I mean, the DJ was good, nothing but the club bangers and the line dances and all that.
I'm sure they busted out the wobble.
Oh yeah, dude, every white wedding they have to do the wobble.
And what about not Cotton Eye Joe?
The cha-cha slide. There's a couple of other ones too. They did all the line dances.
Nice, man. Well, congratulations to Devin and his bride. And 21. I couldn't imagine being married that young. But
yeah, they've been together 6 years, so might as well.
Yeah. Oh wow. They were like together when they were like in middle school.
Yeah, man. I think.
That's high school still. That's high school still. 50. If you said 7 years or 6 years.
6 years.
6 years. My math is off. I guess that's what 15.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's like a sophomore in high school. Wow. Shout out to them. I wonder if they got any buns in the oven planned soon.
He said they got their honeymoon cruise booked for June, and then they're trying for a baby after that. And that's kind of it shows my growing up is I've always been like, no, I don't want a grandkid. Now I'm like, hell yeah, get it done. I want a grandbaby.
How do you feel? I know you're turning 40 this year. You'd be a young ass grandparent.
I had him young, so it's all right. I mean, he's 21. He made it that long without having a baby. It's all good. I was 17 when So
I'm sure your parents wouldn't mind having some great grandkids.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exciting times. Like I said, congrats to Devin. But there was a fight card this past weekend, and it's been a while since we got on, so I figured we'd do a show for this one because it was in front of a live crowd. UFC on ESPN, Blanchfield versus Ferraro in Atlantic City. And on the prelims, I don't know if y'all got to catch the prelims. It was a lot of finishes on there. I went back and caught some of the highlights, but there's a lot of TKOs, a soccer kick too. I don't know if anybody saw the highlights from that.
I must have missed it.
No, I seen that there was a bunch of KOs and TKOs, and I think that night I got a pop-up that there was a crazy knockout, and I don't remember which one it was. I never went back to look for it, but I think it was on the prelims. Something happened.
Yeah, the guy looked, I don't know, he just dropped out of nowhere. I don't know if something happened to his liver. I hate that UFC does these weird ass like angles where when somebody gets knocked down, they're like cutting the angles. You can't see how it really happened. That's what happened with this one. It was in I think it was in the Petrosky fight, the Jacob Malkoun and Petrosky fight. He just like keeled over. When he keeled over, he got a soccer kick right to his midsection, and the ref stopped it after that. So he was like on all fours, and the guy just did a soccer kick to like his like midsection when he was on all fours, and the ref was like, "All right, it's time to stop this." But that was cool. And then you had Nate Landwehr in that feature fight in the prelims defeating Jamal Emmers. He KO'd him towards the end of the round, so that was cool as well. But yeah, if anybody listening has a chance to go back and watch some of those highlights, I definitely recommend it. But
Yeah.
fellas, let's get into the main card. In the welterweight division, we had, I hope I'm not butchering this guy's name. It's Chidi, because I know his nickname is Chidi Bang Bang. Njokani defeating Reese McKee by split decision. So nothing really stood out about this fight. There was a lot of clinching by McKee in pretty much all three rounds, which got a lot of boos from the crowd. But when they weren't in the clinch, Njokani had some slick striking, and he was mixing it up with the punches, the kicks, the knees, and the elbows, and even got that takedown in the third. I gave all three rounds to Chidi, but I don't know. I know you watched the fight, Admire. One judge had it 29-28 for McKee, and I don't see in what world where McKee won a round, because all he did was clinch, and when he did clinch, he didn't like strike or do any significant damage. I don't know. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think it was an easy decision, and I don't know where that judge came up with that score. The only thing I can think of is when he was clinching, if that judge somehow said that was control. I know that McKee, attempted a bunch of takedowns. I don't think he landed any of them, and that was a weird. I think when everybody could agree that is a weird score to give to somebody, I think that needs to be investigated. That judge needs to explain why. Like, we always get these weird scores, but I think the judges need to be put on like the pressers after and just be like, you gave him this score, you had him winning the fight, nobody else did. What did you see that validates you giving him the winning score? Because that was just weird. I mean, Chidi had over twice the strikes, like had crisp striking, had most of the control, in my opinion. Like you said, McKee had some of those clinches, but didn't do nothing with it. So I mean, it was an easy decision for me. That was just random.
So Steve, what do you think they could do to make these judges accountable for egregious decisions like this?
Have more power than they think, because you do enough complaining in the UFC for certain things, it gets changed the other way with fans. What I think they should do is, we know referees, right? We damn near we know them by name, and we get to know their faces. And I think maybe if referees were publicized like a ref, because they're public workers. I mean, self-contracting, but since the judges, they're government state, I believe, right? I
Right.
believe their identity should be able to be unveiled in their faces. And if you're not doing any corruption, you wouldn't have nothing to do, worry about safety or anything, if that's what it is. But I think the faces of these referees, of course, I think they name their names, but it seems like they keep them hidden. Like, I can't recognize a judge's face at all now that I'm thinking of it. So I think more you put them on display, the more attention is paid, the more, nobody wants to make a dumb decision when their face is on TV. And, that's why referees are kind of accountable. And we got Steve Mazzagatti out of there. If he dies, he dies. Or no, that's not Steve Mazzagatti. My mistake.
Was that Mario
Yamasaki? My bad.
Yamasaki.
and Steve Mazzagatti. I guess they got him out of there too. So I think we do that to the judges, we can get them out of there.
Definitely, you made some valid points. Admire, what do you think they should do to hold these judges accountable?
Like I said, I think that they should be able to interview the judges after. I mean, maybe not like post-fight like they do the fighters, but like a post-fight conference where on any decision or any questionable thing, they have to give an explanation. Even if they don't do like an actual press conference, there should be like a final report after the fight the judges give. I gave this fighter the points for this. I gave this fighter points for this. Like, this is how I scored it, to make sure that we're upholding what the agreed judging criteria has been, because it's getting away from that. If fighters have trained because the rules say this is how you're going to be scored, and they're not scoring them according to that, then something needs to change. You're preparing for something, or maybe the wrong thing that they're looking for. But there shouldn't be a judge that is that scoring that differently than everybody else. It's kind of like baseball. I love baseball. I don't know if it'll make sense to you guys, but there's an umpire, Angel Hernandez, that everybody hates. This guy makes so many bad calls, but he's still an umpire. Like, people like that need to be held accountable if they're playing by a different set of rules than everybody else.
And you know what? I think what keeps it straight and would keep it legal, I think the power that state officials, or what do you call it, athletic commission, is from the state government. I think us from the people, or taxpayers, or even the taxpayers of where they're holding the event, we should be able to get more accountability. Like, I mean, I'm not even going political with this show, but I mean, since they are state workers, I mean, we should be able to get them out of there for making dumb decisions. And and if it was a private judges, well, there's conflict of interest, but if there's private judges, it'd be different. But these are state workers. We should get them out of there.
Right. And I don't know if there's many of them left, but I know back a lot of the earlier UFCs, there wasn't MMA judges in certain states. They were using boxing judges who were scoring the fights completely based on, boxing criteria. And I don't think there's a lot of those people left, but something needs to change with the judging, because it's just wrong is what it is. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's wrong for a judge to just absolutely be outside of what the other judges, the commentary people, the fans, if we can all judge it better than a judge, that's kind of weird.
So I don't know if any other sports does this, but shouldn't shouldn't like the media be able to interview these judges like in a post-fight conference after the fight?
I think so. I think they should. And it all comes down to accountability. There's nothing to hold that judge accountable to it. There's nothing to say you scored that wrong and change it in the future. That judge could be judging another fight in a month or two, could be judging local shows with, smaller promotions. That something has to change.
I used to be a long time ago when I was a youngin. Used to be a janitor, and I used to clean the state the board of state office, and then you had all of them, but one of them was the athletic, and I used to clean his office. And it's funny you say that, Admire, about the boxing, because I vividly remember all his memorabilia was boxing. So I think a lot of these, they're just state workers. Hey man, we got an event. You guys are hired to do this job. Do an MMA event that you don't know shit about. And I think that's the problem. What's going on? These are just regular people. I don't think people think they're not raised up to be MMA. If they have a job at a state office and they're the athletic commissioner for that state, you're just going to an event where you have to.
Yeah. And like y'all touched on earlier, it's state by state, so they could get basically like a third grade teacher that doesn't really know about the sport to come in and judge it, which is crazy.
Lucky enough, if you get somebody even has likes combat sports.
Yeah. And you're playing with people's livelihoods. You getting half your pay if it's a judge that doesn't know what he's doing taken away from you. I'm gonna be irate. So
yeah. I mean, it's like if somebody's on the athletic commission and they're a baseball umpire, and just one weekend they decide to throw them in to ref a football game. Like, they're gonna call things a lot differently than somebody who actually knows the sport. So I think that, I mean, I have to imagine, to be a licensed judge on the athletic commission, that you have to pass some sort of test. Like, there needs to be some kind of stricter testing about the sport that they're going to be working with.
definitely. I don't know why isn't. I know why, because each state wants to make their money and whatnot, but UFC is just overhaul it and have uniform for every state. No state has any different rules, but I don't think it's possible just based on like the commissions and regulations. I think sports are regulated state by state, which is, kind of a big hurdle, but it hurts the sport. So I don't know if there's any way they could get around it and make it more uniform. That's past my pay grade. I'd have to do research, but I don't know. Something has to change.
I mean, even the UFC themselves should take charge. I mean, they are the biggest promotion. They should teach a class to the states about MMA, because if you think about it, the athletic commission didn't come up with the way the fights are scored. The UFC did, because that's just how it was. It wasn't around, or it wasn't a athletic commission involved thing. So they said, this is what we're going to score it on. They told them. And so I think they should take the charge and just say, look, this is how MMA works. This is how it should be scored.
Yeah, definitely. Just have it more uniform. Even I know you have to have state athletic commissions, but I definitely think it's hurting the sport, and it's something that hasn't been really addressed in the modern era. I mean, I know the sport has evolved, but you got to do something, because what if one of the other judges, even though the other two judges in that first fight, they had it 27-30, so they clearly had the guy winning all three rounds. But what if the other judge had it where he had the same decision as that judge that didn't know what he was doing? So I don't know. He's
Yeah.
lucky.
It seems there's been controversy every event. I don't know. It seems like it.
Yeah, it used to be every once in a while you would get a bad judging, and then it seems like lately, at least every big card, it's like something gets just scored really weird. It would be even if like John McCarthy or Herb Dean or somebody, one of the bigger refs wanted to go out and teach the athletic commissions how to score things. I mean, it seems like a good job for them.
Yeah. The two you both mentioned good ideas, and I don't know. I feel like since they aren't taking suggestions, because there's a lot of pundits out there that put suggestions either, and they're not taking advice, then it's got to be something bigger money-wise why they're not trying to make any changes, which is a shame, especially for the fighters. But guess we'll have to see what happens with that in the future. Let's go to this next fight in the featherweight division. We had Kyle Nelson defeating Bill Algeo TKO in the first round. So Algeo came out with the kicks, but Nelson landed a wild punch and put Algeo on his skates. And towards the end of the round, Nelson landed a big right overhand and followed up with several more big shots. And the ref stepped in and called it a standing TKO, which you don't see a lot of. Admire, what were your thoughts on that?
I thought this was a cool fight. These guys, it was a featherweight fight, and both of them to me looked like welterweights, man. And then Nelson landed that big right early in the fight and just kind of had him on his toes the whole thing. And they traded a lot of punches, a lot of good kicks. This was a cool fight. I watched this one a couple times. I was just like, wow, man, them guys like threw it down.
Do you think that it was premature with stopping?
Like I said, I've watched it a couple times, and a couple times I thought maybe it was a little early, but I think the inevitable was coming. I think he would have eventually got it. You kind of got to look out for the safety of the fighter. That Alego, he tough customer. I mean, he was eating a lot of punches, and every time I started to count him out, he was coming right back into it. So I could see it both ways. I wasn't mad at the stoppage.
So, Steve, like you see this happen once in a while when a ref maybe call it prematurely. Do you side on the ref maybe calling it a little bit earlier or letting it play out more?
I think that's a tough one because it's always scenario. I think a lot of times they've been stopping the fights. I think they could have let it gone. I think a more recent one in memory we could remember is the Jiri and Alex Pieta, and I think they could have easily let that one go. And I don't know. These refs might see something different. Plus, caught with a charge, or if these fighters don't come out alive, possibly. I can imagine they're going with that, but taking that out, a lot of times I can see them most of the time keep on going, but then a few times I think what was his name? He retires and he announces.
Are you talking about Henry Cejudo?
No, not him. He commentates. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, you mean he announces commentates? Okay.
Yeah. He on sometimes. I think he was on there the last card.
Are you talking about Michael Bisping?
No, he called himself, what is it, the Irish Dragon?
Oh, Paul Felder.
Paul Felder,
yeah. And I think recently there was one where they didn't stop well, I can't remember that one, but more recent one we probably remember is Bobby Green.
Mm-hmm.
He was getting beat to death and they didn't stop it. So I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's one of those things you got to be a ref and to see it, but I think a lot of these fights could definitely go on.
Yeah, like Amai said, this was an exciting one, and I'm gonna have to go back and watch it again to see if I change my mind. I thought they stopped it a little bit prematurely, but at the end of the day, it's all about the safety of the fighters. So let's move on to this next one. We had Nursultan Ruzabov defeating Cedricus Dumas by TKO in the first round in the middleweight division. This is a little bit controversial as well. So it was a filling out period in the beginning of the fight. Then it appeared that an accidental eye poke happened, but the ref didn't call timeout. And then Ruzaboyev dropped Dumas and finished him with some ground and pound, and that was it. And I went back and looked, and it still went down to TKO. What were your thoughts on this one, Amir?
Yeah, it was really weird. I don't even think Dumas actually landed a solid strike, even though the fight went almost 2 minutes. But yeah, it kind of reminded me of the Floyd Mayweather fight, where they had something happen. Like he was trying to get the ref's attention, and the ref didn't do anything. And I mean, it solid uppercut kind of put him down, and the ground and pound finished it off. I watched. I didn't see the eye poke. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but obviously he thought it did because he was like trying to get the ref's attention. I'm not sure which ref that actually was. I don't know if that's a newer guy or a local guy, but not one that I don't think I'm real familiar with.
I don't think they usually do it. Just to ask, that wasn't the ref for the next fight either, was it?
Nah.
Okay, I was just saying. Okay. Yeah, that's crazy.
So when a ref messes up like that, and the guy, he doesn't call a foul or anything, and the guy ends up losing, what kind of reprimand do you think the ref should get, Steve?
Say that question again.
So if I'm a fighter and I lose because a ref misses like a nut shot or eye poke, what should happen? Like, should the ref face any consequences?
Yeah, or there should be a system to reinstate your loss. That is so crazy that you can lose from a legitimate replay of an eye poke and then you got a loss. I definitely think so. And it's kind of hard job being a ref now. I'm thinking about it, but it's also, you're talking about people's career. I think if it can be shown after the fight, definitely if it's eye poke, what would they do? Why wasn't it a no contest?
I have no clue why they didn't change it to no contest.
That's crazy. I don't understand that.
Did you see anything about that, Amir?
No, I haven't seen anything. I rewatched this fight a couple times as well. I didn't see the eye poke. He was kind of delayed when he called it too. It wasn't after a big exchange or anything. But what I noticed is this ref on this particular fight stood really outside and to one side of them. So he's not going to get the angle of an eye poke, especially the eye that he claimed got poked. Dumas claimed it was his right eye, and the ref was standing to his left. So the ref wouldn't have seen it. So, I mean, I don't know how you prevent that or hold the ref accountable, because unless, there's a training of where they should be, because they should kind of be circling, but you're not always going to see both fighters straight on. So you're going to miss some of those. Sometimes I almost wonder if it would benefit to have two refs inside there to where you could have two different angles and kind of catch some of those things. I know throwing two refs in there would maybe cause some issues, because, one, might call a stoppage, one might not, one, might think something was something else. But I think you would catch more of those accidental nut shots or eye pokes or things that, the ref sometimes misses. And I think that's where the live, I don't know if they do it. I think they've done it in some fights that an outside the cage ref watching a monitor can kind of see some of those extra things. Because I'm not sure how many cameras are around the cage, but they should be able to get every angle. And something like that, if a fighter protests and says I was poked in the eye and the ref didn't catch it, they should call timeout. They should review it. If they were poked in the eye, it should be counted as, a foul. If the fighter lied about it and the replay doesn't show it, then you get docked a point. You stop the fight for no reason. You should get docked a point. But that way, you're bringing fighter safety into it, and you're giving them a chance to kind of plead their case. A fighter is going to claim it just to get a breath if he's getting his ass kicked. Somebody's going to do it. Like a Yoel Romero might end up doing something like that. But docking them a point, that would keep them from doing it, facetiously.
Yeah, that'd be interesting though. Two refs, might be a clash if that happened, but I mean, I guess it wouldn't hurt. Like having more eyes in there seemed like a little bit of a clusterfuck, but hey, any idea that helps that out, that wouldn't be a bad thing. As far as just throwing things at the wall and see what sticks.
yeah, and I mean, and it still begs the question: why have they not? How has somebody not invented a glove to keep those fingers kind of retracted? You could make a glove to where their hand is curled and they can squeeze it, but they can't open it more than that, or something. There's got to be a way.
They tried. Remember, we talked about it sometime last year where they tried to make the glove. Apparently, it's not doing its job. Where your fingers couldn't curl out, but it's not working.
But it always makes me wonder sometimes. A lot of these fighters will claim an eye poke. How many were legitimately just punched in the eye and they can't see? If you're punched square in the eye, it's gonna feel like somebody poked you in the eye. It's the same thing, but that's what the intention was. You were punched in the eye, you weren't poked. So that kind of brings in that element as well.
Yeah, a lot of times they're getting hit with the glove, maybe a glove also, and that feels like a poke too if you get hit with those gloves where they start at the knuckle.
Yeah, they got to do something because, like you said, it might be a punch, might be a legitimate eye poke. We never know. Fighters might be looking for a way to get out there, so they might be lying about it. There's no way of telling, but I guess we'll see how that plays out.
Right. And I don't think a point thing would even solve it, because if you think back to like what I mentioned with Yoel Romero, him and Tim Kennedy, where Romero refused to get off the stool. Tim Kennedy was clearly winning that fight and about to finish him. And then between the rounds, Yoel Romero refused to get off the stool, but then came back and got his breath and landed, a couple good shots and finished Kennedy. So if Romero, let's say he would have used the I was poked in the eye thing, they watched the replay. No, you weren't. You get docked a point. Romero still came out and finished him, which, isn't right. So even that doesn't solve the whole issue, but I think it's a start. Or if you get caught lying about it, we're going to dock your pay.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that. Hey, it has to be consequences. Why not get them to dock their pay? I bet you they won't do it next time, right?
I think not to be off subject, that's a little bit iffy, but I think one of deduction would pay when people are faking is when they get kicked in the gut and trying to claim it's a nut shot. I think that should be condemnable also, because there's people then caught on camera faking that. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, there's a lot of problematic things going on in this card that have been happening in MMA, and it makes you think about all the stuff that needs to be changed. So we'll see what happens, and which takes us to another one that has some controversy behind it. You had Chris Weidman defeating Bruno Silva in the middleweight division. Chris Weidman, I think it's his second fight after that nasty leg break. And originally, this was ruled a TKO win for Weidman. And we talked about the judges in the athletic commissions not jumping on things and changing it. They went back and changed this one, but they changed it to a technical decision by Chris Weidman. I don't even know how this works. But because of all the eye pokes that happen, I watched this fight, but it's kind of a blur, and I wrote some notes down, but my notes have disappeared. So, how did this fight play out, if you recall off the top of your head?
I mean, the biggest thing that stuck out to me for this was that Bruno Silva was just slow and not very active. You mentioned the highlight of it, that it was originally a TKO, but they changed it to a decision by the commission because Silva had an eye poke, and I I don't know if it's by state, but I've seen this before, that when they say somebody can't continue, they automatically go to the cards. Like sometimes you get a no contest and things like that, but sometimes they go to what the scores were. Where was this one at?
Atlantic City.
Atlantic City. I don't know what was different about it. I mean, the biggest thing that stuck out to me was Silva was just, kind of slow and not very active. Weidman, what can you say about him that we haven't already said? He's not who he used to be.
What stood out to me is that he's still not afraid to throw those kicks. I didn't really know him as a big kicker before the injury, but I guess he has more confidence in it because he's throwing out a lot of kicks. When Bruno did throw, it looked like it had intent behind it, but he wasn't really throwing that much. I don't know. This is a weird fight. I guess Weidman looked good for his age and him coming back from that injury. But it's just a weird fight overall. What were your thoughts on this one, Steve?
Yeah, I was thank you. Good thing you let me know. I almost missed card. This is where I tuned in. Weidman, every time he threw a kick, I was like, just because every time somebody has a devastating injury like Silva or Weidman, that's one injury I don't like seeing on TV. But every time he threw it, I was like, But he was active. Saw him get caught a few times, but he seemed like he was the aggressor, and I'm pretty sure that's what won him the fight. Had a Silva on the back pedal, from what I remember. I don't know if you're gonna add on after the fight. I mean, Weidman, there's a few things that I have not liked him for over the years, and he just rubbed me the wrong way. Celebrating when you blatantly see somebody leg in half bending, and we see him do it again.
Anderson Silva.
Yeah, it's funny. He does, doing it with the Silvas, huh? This is another Silva. And it puts a sour taste in my mouth, to where me, just to be an observant person, I would just be concerned of, like, is this fight going to be overturned? This dude's complaining about his eye, and this dude's celebrating, trying to almost win the crowd like that didn't happen. I don't like Weidman for that. I think he did that more than 2 times that I remember, but 2 significantly. Good win for him, I guess, because he needed it. Like you say, he's throwing his kicks, and he expressed how he said he was scared in his last fights to throw it, but like you said, we were seeing him throw it, and he lucked out.
So, am I out? Did you watch his post-fight interview?
No, I didn't see the post fight. I just skipped through that.
I don't know if you saw it, Steve.
I did.
So he was saying he told Silva that I got poked in the eye too. So he's like, yeah, what was that about? He was like, I got poked in the eye because the crowd was booing. He's like, I got poked in the eye too. I told him that you got to keep going or something like that.
Yeah, I remember he definitely said that. He said, don't go on your knees, basically complain on your feet, because then you give a bad impression on the, judges.
Seems like he was making excuses for his egregious actions in there.
It's like, bro, it was a foul. Like, what are you talking about?
I don't know. So it was a weird fight. So where does Weidman go after this? He doesn't have anything to prove. He's a former champion. He won, but it wasn't like super dominant, and he had those eye pokes and whatnot. Like, what do you even do with this guy now?
Man, part of me just says, retire, go out on a win. I mean, I really don't want to see him fight anymore just because of his history and stuff. You know, he's got a lot of losses in his last like 10 fights. If he's gonna stick around, try to do some money fights or something. I don't know that there's a high demand to see him in a high profile money fight, but like you could put him up there. It'd be cool. MVP versus Chris Weidman.
Why would you want to do that to Weidman? I think MVP would murder him.
Just something like a catch weight, or let MVP go up there to middleweight. I think it'd be a fun fight to see. Maybe Weidman versus, I don't know, maybe like a Chris Curtis. I don't want to see
that might be fun actually. Even though Chris Curtis is fighting next weekend.
Yeah,
or this weekend. I mean. So.
Yeah, I think just kind of stylistically, the Chris Curtis fight would be fun to kind of watch, but I don't think that there's any place for Weidman to make a run or put him against somebody that's highly ranked. You can't put him in there against a Whitaker, a Costa, a Vittori, or somebody like that. So you got to get that back into the pack if you're going to even give him somebody ranked.
Okay, so I'm looking rankingmma.com. I don't definitely not put him against the top 15 guy, but what about like a Brad Tavares who's coming off a loss against Gregory Rodriguez, somebody like that?
That sounds very interesting. Actually, that's a perfect matchup. Actually,
would you like something like that, Admire?
Yeah, I was trying to think who else is outside of that top 15 that
Tavares is number. So sorry to cut you off. Tavares is number 30. Weidman's 35. So let me look underneath Weidman's rankings. Oh, what about this guy, Eric, your boy Anders? Even though he's coming off a win, I mean, Weidman's technically coming off a win as well.
I like that one too. They workhorse like they almost fight almost the same workhorse style.
And let me go back and retract what I said, because Weidman already faced Tavares. That's the fight that he came back in his comeback fight. So we want to see that rematch. But right. Yeah, what about like an Eric Anders?
Yeah, somebody like that. Derek Brunson, he left the UFC, didn't he?
Yeah, I want to say he's not in there.
Weidman and Brunson would have been a fun fight, I think.
Rockhold Redemption would have been good, but Rockhold's not in there either.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that it would have been a good one for Weidman's next.
What about like a Marc-Andre Barrios? We talked about him a few cards ago. That fight he had against like Chris Curtis.
Yeah, just a wild thought. See what happens at UFC 300. But Bo Nickel's trying to get in that top.
No, I don't want to see Weidman go out, get destroyed like that. Like you said, he needs like somebody that's older. He just be getting fed to the wolves. That'd be a good rub for Nickel for name value. But if I'm Chris Weidman, like what does that do for me?
What's Darren Till ranked?
Too high for Weidman to face. He's definitely. But is he in the middleweight division still? Didn't he go back down to welterweight?
I think he took a break.
Yeah, he did. I think he did. I don't see him in the rankings at all for middleweight. But that wouldn't. I guess that wouldn't be too bad actually. Now that I think about it, because it's not like Till is a world beater right now, so. Might not be that bad of a fight, actually, now I think about it, Admire.
Yeah, and I mean, Weidman could probably go up to light heavy if there's anybody on the tail end of that as well.
We saw what happened when Luke Rockhold did that. I don't think that'd be a wise decision.
Yeah, Reyes got him with a little. I thought it was a pity pat hammerfish.
And it was good night for him. But I'm with Admire. There's nothing left for him to do. Just retire.
And stop giving weird post-fight fucking
Yeah.
man, every time that dude always does something weird in the post
Still
fight.
my boy.
Still my boy.
Never forget. But yeah, we'll see what happens with the veteran Wyman. Let's talk about this co-main event, though. We had Joaquin Buckley defeating Vicente Luque in the welterweight division, TKO. So that first round, they were feeling each other out, trying to find the ranges. Not a whole lot of output from either one of them. It could have went either way. So if somebody had it for Buckley, I wouldn't be mad at it. If somebody had it for Luque, I wouldn't have been mad at that either. I didn't go back and look how the judges ruled it, but once we went to round 2, Buckley turned the volume up. And about halfway through that second round, Luque went for the takedown. And you know that meme, that's where he knew he messed up. Buckley pretty much sat down on it and got him with some like vicious ground and pound, like almost like some Donkey Kong type ground and pound, and it was over for Luque. And I don't know why he went for that takedown, but he did, and it was over for him. Then, what are your thoughts on this one, Admire?
Yeah, I've been pretty high on Luque for a while, but Buckley looked really, really good. Like you said, he kind of went for that takedown, and Buckley just never once looked in trouble. Buckley looked very comfortable on top. You know, Luque is a Brazilian guy, has a jiu-jitsu background, but you wouldn't be able to tell from watching that fight. Like, it's like Luque was just in defense mode the whole time. He didn't throw any submissions. He didn't try to reverse anything. He didn't really do anything with it. He just ducked and covered. And, I knew Buckley was kind of big, but when you said he Donkey Konged up, I mean, he looked huge. I mean, Buckley is a stacked guy, and he was just throwing some monster fists. So, shout out to Buckley for that. Like, I think he might, kind of be a problem moving towards that top 10.
Steve?
He's most definitely is. I've been liked him, but I feel like he couldn't put it together in middleweight. It's almost like he had the size, but not the height. He can keep up with him if he would incorporate more style. But I think that's why he went down to welterweight. I always liked when he does his style. He almost got a peekaboo sway and pop up, and hit you with some combos. I love seeing that, and hitting them off the angles too. Very good. He was a strong guy in middleweight, but it really, really transitions in welterweight. He's going to be one of those guys that are going to have that middleweight strength in welterweight to where, like, try to take him down, he can use his muscle. So like we see in Ngannou, like, he literally can throw you off of him if he needs to, if the technique comes too late. Somebody gets a double leg on you quick. And I think that may have happened in that fight. He threw him off. And then when he went for that, try to go for that takedown, he's postured up and pushed him down easily. And those punches were very strong. They weren't trying to get energy. They were very firm postured, and he got him out of there quick. And like Admar said, I think he is going to be a big problem.
So we all know Buckley. He's the guy that went viral during the early pandemic with that crazy kick. And after that, it was kind of like up and down for him. So, Admire, you're pretty high on him. I guess, do you think this is like finally a launching point for him to firmly establish himself as a contender? Because Luque is no slouch.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is. I mean, kind of like Steve touched on, Buckley is 5'8". He was a 5'8" middleweight. So he really, he had the size body wise, but he didn't have the height. I think this is the perfect division for him, where he has that middleweight strength with the welterweight height, and he can just mix it up and overpower people on the ground. Like I said, Luque, I would have expected to throw up submissions or try to do something, and Buckley just kind of ragdolled him on the ground and put him where he wanted to land those punches. So I think, yeah, I think you're going to see Buckley probably win another 2 and crack that top 5.
I don't
So
think my bad.
no, go ahead, Steve.
I don't think we've seen anybody do Luke like that.
No, not like that. Not like he just mounted him and basically did what he wanted to on top.
Like Luke is no bum on the ground or any of that, and I was impressed.
Yeah, that was Luque's first TKO loss.
Yeah, so that's saying something. And like both of y'all said, Buckley may have just been an oversized middleweight, and maybe he's finally at his right division. So, like Admire, you say you might throw him in the top 5 with a couple more wins, but what will you do for his next fight immediately?
Just looking at that 10 to 15, there's so many good options there. Jeff Neal, Neil Magny, MVP. Holland's behind him, but Holland's, always an option. If you want to give him a big step up, Stephen Thompson at number 9.
So if you had to whittle it down, which one of those guys would you choose like immediately?
To me, the Stephen Thompson fight sounds fun, but I think Stephen Thompson has something booked already.
I'd have to look at that to see if he had anything booked, because this was Luque was his first ranked opponent, if I'm not mistaken, for Buckley. So
no, Thompson doesn't have anything set up yet. So I mean, that's a possibility. The other ones I mentioned that are up in there, the Neil Magny. I think Neil Magny he had a fight recently. Yeah. I like Stephen Thompson, but I wouldn't be mad at like a Neil Magny or even, MVP. MVP just had that win,
What do you think, Steve? What's next? What should be next for Buckley?
Those are good suggestions. I think he should be thrown up there with anybody which you said, Holland. He's fought high caliber people to not be treated as trying to climb up. I think not only with that win, and if they want to shortstop him one more fight, but I think he's ready to be up in a challenge at 9 or 10 to get his feet wet.
Oh, he did fight. Buckley fought Kevin Holland back in 2020.
To get that rematch. You got a storyline.
Yeah, and he lost. Got knocked out, TKO.
And I think Holland came off a loss. Did he?
Yeah, Holland just lost, I believe.
So yeah, is Holland still ranked?
Yeah, he's like number 15. Yeah, Holland just lost the MVP.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if Holland was ranked at the time when Buckley faced him, but Buckley lost to him. So I'm pretty sure Luque is the first ranked opponent that Buckley has beaten. If it was a while ago, if they could run the Holland fight back, but I don't know. For some reason, I know he's probably going to want to face ranked people now. For some reason, what division is Chaos Williams in? Is he a middleweight or a welterweight?
I think he's a light heavy.
Oh, he's a light heavyweight. Oh man, I'm real off on that one. Hey, it's late.
What? Dang,
it's late. It's late for all the listeners listening. So my bad on that. I didn't realize Chaos Williams was so big.
No, he's a welterweight.
Yeah,
he is.
Yeah, his last few were at welterweight.
Yeah, I know I wasn't tripping.
No, you're not, because I remember he fought who did he fight? Johnny. Nah, damn.
He fought Pierre. He fought Michelle Pierre.
He fought Michelle.
That's who it was. Michelle Pierre. I got it mixed up with Johnny Walker. Yeah, Michelle Pierre. He fought.
Yeah, so not a Buckley's down at the welterweight, but like I said, he's not gonna want to fight backward now because Williams isn't ranked. So yeah, I wouldn't be mad at the Wonder Boy fight, like Admire was saying. I don't know if Thompson seems like he's really choosy on what he picks. He's real strategic. So I don't know if Wonder Boy would accept that fight, but I'd be here for it. But looking at I don't know if the MVP fight, but because Buckley jumped a lot of people. They put a lot of weight in that Luque win, and they dropped Luque down 3 spots, and they got Buckley in number 11 now. So the Jeff Neal fight would make sense. I don't know if you said Neil Magny, am I, or did you say Jeff Neal?
Yeah, Jeff Neal, Neil Magny, kind of that group of guys that, you know, they fight pretty often.
So they got options with him, and he looked damn good. So I'm excited to see where he goes with in that welterweight division. But well, let's finally move to the main event that had title implications. In the women's flyweight division, we got Manon Fior defeating Erin Blanchfield by unanimous decision. And early in that first round, Fior went for that takedown, and Blanchfield reversed it into a guillotine, and it's pretty much bad news for Blanchfield after that if she didn't get it. Nice back and forth in the first round, but this is the how it played out for most of the fight. Fior just seemed to be the more accurate striker in this one, and in round 2, Blanchfield got that takedown, but she didn't do anything with it. And Fior was landing shots from the distance, and Blanchfield just had trouble getting inside for most of this fight, and which was the same case for round 3. And round 4, Blanchfield showed some heart. She seemed to, you know, kind of power up a little bit and throw caution to the wind, throw some wild punches, but Fior weathered the storm and picked her apart from the outside. And then in round 5, Erin landed that head kick that wobbled Fior for a little bit, but Fior recovered and just continued to pick her apart from the outside. So it was a solid win for Fior, but nothing too spectacular. What were your thoughts on this one, Admire?
Yeah, nothing too spectacular, like you said. And then what stuck out to me the most is what you said is like in the 4th round, Blanchfield just started kind of throwing some wild stuff. I mean, that kind of showed her desperation at that time. You know, she kind of knew she was behind and needed to make something happen. You know, it not a memorable fight. We won't be talking about it, you know, years down the line. I think it shows that Fior is ready for that title shot, but I think that title shot's going to be on hold for a while because you got Grasso and Shevchenko up there, and I think they're doing the Ultimate Fighter, so that fight is going to be kind of put on delay. How many fights in a row is that for her? That's like 11 fight win streak, I think.
Oh, so she only lost her first fight, which wasn't even in UFC. It was in Cage Warrior. So
yeah, I was gonna say she's on a long streak. I mean, she definitely deserves it. But I don't think she'll get it right away just because of the other obligations the others have. You know, she could take a fight in between, risk losing that number 1 contender spot. But for me, she's easily number 1 contender.
Steve, what are your thoughts on this one?
I didn't get to see this one, but I was viewing her history, and I usually pay attention to the known names, but some of these women can't help to see. But she's fought, like I said, Blanchfield. I've heard that name thrown around. She just beat her. Nala Nunez, Sarah Monera. I think she just won an upset against somebody probably about 2 weekends ago. And I think she's a contender, and she beat her. And Silva, who just was a contender to Raquel Pennington, she lost, but still, she's fighting high-level people. And I guess I've been paying attention to her, but I guess definitely, like Admar said, ready to contend for the championship.
So it's definitely title shot or bust for Fior. But looking on the other side of the spectrum, Erin Blanchfield, she's a fighter that's been high on the UFC's like list of next fighters to promote. she looked like almost unbeatable coming into this fight, like she was going to be the next one up, but she's still young. She's 24. So I think UFC were maybe betting on she might be able to win this fight so they could rush her to the top. And now those plans have kind of been, set back a little bit. Like, where do you think Blanchfield goes from here, Admire?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about. I was like, man, does she need a weight change or something? I'm not sure, but I kind of think she's exhausted her, her time on that flyweight division for the women's. She's already fought, everybody up towards the top, and it's not like she's bad. I mean, she lost this fight, first loss in like 5 years. So, I mean, she could hang around. She could maybe jump divisions. I don't know.
She might be. I think she might be a little bit too small for the bantamweight division. I don't know if she can make that 115 division. I don't know. I mean, since you rushed her up to the top so quickly, was she like ranked number 2 in this fight, going into this fight, right?
I think she was ranked. What was she ranked? She was ranked number 1, I think, going into it.
I'm looking at it right now. She's ranked number 2, and she just dropped. They just flip-flopped. So Fior was ranked number 3, and Blanchfield was ranked number 2. They just flip-flop. She's so young, so I don't think you have to push the panic button, but she probably should take a slight step back. And competition, you can't. But if you go, you can't like throw an unranked fighter because then people sniff that out. But I don't know if it will end well because Namajunas is ranked number 6 now in that flyweight division.
I was thinking she'd faced everybody, but she hasn't. She hasn't faced Macy Barber.
That's another one that they are high on and trying to push as the next person up in that division as far as like American talent.
Right. And so I don't think they would put Blanchfield against Barber because they're so high on both of them that they don't want either one of them to really lose. So I don't think you get to see that fight.
And Blanchfield already beat Andrade. She choked her out. That's when I was like, I guess this shooter to the top, and she beat Talia Santos.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Blanchfield hasn't fought Rose. So, I mean, that's an option. I don't think she's fought Amanda Ribas either.
Yeah, she hasn't. That would be a good bounce back fight, even though I think Ribas just fought like not too long ago. Didn't she just lose? I want to say Ribas just fought.
Yeah, let me double check it, but I think recently she just did. Yeah, a couple weeks ago on Ribas
she
against
lost
Rose.
to Namajunas.
Yeah.
I'm tripping because I just watched that fight. Speaking of that fight, Namajunas looked good in it, but she didn't do anything spectacular. So they got options with like the top 7 in that division, and like Admire was saying, it all comes down to it's not even a rubber match between Grasso and Shevchenko because the last one was a draw. So if Shevchenko wins, they could have like a 4th fight possibly. I don't want to see that.
No.
So, whoever wins this next one with Grasso and Valentina, they need to move on and just let Fior get the next title shot so they can keep this division moving. And I want to say they're having, I don't know if they changed that because I know they were supposed to have it on Mexican Independence Day and have it in the Spear. But Grasso and Shevchenko are coaching the Ultimate Fighter now, so I don't know if it's still on track to be on that card. So I guess we'll have to see how it plays out. I don't know if you doing a little research right now, am I?
Mexican Independence Day, is that the May 4th card?
It's supposed to be a fight night, but they changed it to it's going to be like UFC 306 now.
301.
306.
When is Mexican Independence Day?
It's September.
Oh, well, I'm looking at Cinco de Mayo.
Yeah, that's two different things.
UFC 306. What do we have lined up for that right now? Yeah, Fight Night, Grasso, Shevchenko 2. No. That was the year before. No, they don't have anything lined up for it yet.
Usually when you look it up, it'll say they don't have it this far out, but they'll say it like planned fights. And I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, they don't have like anything projected for that. They just say it's going to be in the Spirit, which is going to be crazy. But
The only thing I'm finding is Sean O'Malley has been teasing that he's fighting in September at the Sphere against Dovashili.
well, I guess he's calling the shot, but I don't think it's going to end well for him there. But we got a lot of time to talk about that. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up the action for this past weekend. And next week, we got a big one, fellas. We'll be previewing UFC 300, and I can't believe it snuck up on us. We got 2 more weekends, and then it's on. The big one.
And I don't think anybody's dropped out of that one yet, have they?
They did an April Fool saying that Jamal dropped out of it, but it was April Fool. They were like, Izzy is like, nobody fell for it, but no, nobody's dropped out at this point. So let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, because that card is, I mean, I've talked shit on the card because it didn't have that like main event star power thing, but the whole card is stacked. I mean, your early prelims, your early opening fight is Figueiredo against Cody Garbrandt.
Crazy. I think they said it's like over 12 or 15 former champions or current champions. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it's stacked, even though I'm still iffy on the main event, but we'll talk about that more next week. But that'll do it for us here at Haymaker Combat Sports. Make sure to follow us on all the social media platforms, YouTube, and all the major podcast platforms. But until next time, be safe out there. Later.
Hit the takedown, ground and pound, that was from the top. Heel hooking, no more plot, leave you in the knot. Pound for pound, been the greatest. Sitting on the top, man, I'm laughing at the fool.